Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of DLC, the downloadable cast. And to my on-screen right,
Side.
on my side, on the side near me, is my friend Alex Fossiani. He's filling in for Greg today, but not only is he filling in, he's going to be our new third permanent member of the DLC podcast, downloadable cast. Alex, say hello.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing, I'm good, Alex. Thanks for
Everybody's fine.
Alex has a pretty extensive background in gaming, both as a journalist and as a expert gamer. He's pretty good. Not gonna lie. When I first I went I was just at Alex's house for the first time a few days ago, and I saw his entire game collection, and he's the only person I've ever met that not only had all of the games I've owned, but so much more. I was like so excited that I saw his game collection. You can really tell how good someone is based on their game collection. So I was blown away by his collection. It was great. It was great.
Thank you. Little tidbits.
Our chat moderator for today is Foxhound. Foxhound, say hello.
Hey everyone.
Foxhound, sound more depressed, please. I need you to sound.
I don't know. That's how I sound.
The weight of this chat is upon me, guys.
Foxhound is newer to modding us, but he's been a good time. I call Foxhound Otacon because he helps me when I live stream games. He reads me through facts and whatnot. So before we begin, guys, today's topic is difficult games. Is the gaming industry shifting games to be more difficult or less difficult? So that's our topic for today. Alex, why don't you go ahead and start us out? What is your personal take on the gaming industry? Where do you think it's going?
That's a good question. I think that in general, games have shifted from being games that are themed as things. You know what I mean? Like a racing game. Obviously, it felt nothing like racing when it was like 2 pixels on a track or whatever. But I think that now we're shifting towards making games feel like experiences in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in a lot of ways that makes it less challenging sometimes. Games nowadays are big budget. They cost like millions of dollars to make, and the campaign's 8 hours long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or what's worse is that they'll run out of money for the game, so like certain gameplay aspects are messed up or tweaked because they couldn't
Yes.
reach their deadline.
Exactly. And so, I mean, obviously there's exceptions. The Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Meat Boy, Ninja Gaiden, which is our cute little
Today's
buddy over there. Uh, they're all great. No, they're over. Okay, well, okay. One way it's one way, and in the other video it's this way. So that's
It's confusing. It flips.
both of myself, and I'm like 2 mirrors. Um, yeah, Ninja Gaiden, and there's other games that are hard. Like extra hard modes on games take a long time, but it's rare. It's rare compared to the amount of easy games that are often like pretty shitty too. It's rare to find a great number, like a 10 game now. When back in the day you could love any game.
Well, it amazes me how some companies take shortcuts with like, oh yeah, a simple hardcore playthrough mode is what the gamer needs. It's like, no, something new. That's why I really dug Resident Evil, which I reviewed last week, was because not only do they have a newer mode, but they are, a more difficult version of what you just played. But there's invisible enemy mode, there's real survival mode,
Yeah, there's fun stuff.
there's fun things to keep the game challenging and interesting. Whereas most game companies nowadays, it's like, all right, replay the game, or it's just really hard.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is too is like, is a bunch of like tedious shit to do the same thing as making a hard game? Because I mean a game can be long. Like Final Fantasy X, I think it's Final Fantasy X has this thing where you got to catch all these animals, and it takes like fucking
It's the hunts, right? The hunts.
the hunts,
I
and
think
it's like
I think that's not 10. That's 12 and 13.
I'm I'm gonna say that there's a thing in 10 that's also this way.
Oh, okay. So it must have been 10 too. Okay.
Yeah, but it's like just hours and hours of shit. That's like not necessarily tough. It's just like, will you be down enough to do this? Which is, I don't think that's the same thing. Whereas I can play, you know, Super NES Indiana Jones for years, literally, and never beat it.
Or uh, or Lion King. Lion
Dude,
King's a tough one, man.
yeah. Or what's the other one that I was really couldn't beat is the Batman and Robin game for Super Nintendo,
Oh yeah,
based on the cartoon.
yeah,
The win is just he might as well be the end of the game. He's like the second boss.
yeah.
So damn hard.
Or even Jurassic Park for the Genesis. That game was tough too.
Yeah, yeah.
I think what's amazing is that the difficultness was determined by limitations of the graphics and the hardware, whereas nowadays, these games almost play themselves with insane looking cutscenes and quick time events, and basically you're playing a movie, which is a great experience. There are some games that I think do that correctly.
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear. Resident Evil 4 I thought was a great blend. Resident Evil 5 not so much. I feel bad. I feel like little kids don't necessarily get to experience the difficult games as much as they want to. Um, in fact, most of them are probably playing Call of Duty uh,
Multiplayer.
multiplayer online using the noob tube. I was playing Call of Duty the other day for the first time in years.
Which one were you playing? Three?
Modern Warfare 2.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I got on and I just was listening to all these kids talk and scream at each other, and I'm like, wow, like I feel really old in comparison. These kids are like 12, 13.
It seems impossible, but I feel like 94% of the people online are 12-year-old little boys from the South
From the South specifically.
who just hate gay people and girls and just that's my experience playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, but I think when it comes down to it, though, this is what modern gaming has become.
It's very
Online,
disposable. It's disposable is a key that I was gonna that you made me think of. Is like that's the other thing is that you spend $60 nowadays. People buy a lot more games like in their gaming lifetime. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I mean you said it earlier. I have a game collection, and we're just talking about maybe the last generation and this one. You know what I mean?
right.
And it's literally like I have 60 games. You know what I mean? Versus a kid back in the 80s who maybe bought 10 ever.
Right. And they were all like all like video game or film-based video games for the NES, like Terminator 2 and E.T. and things like that. Games that were already difficult because of their horrible design. Well,
Yeah.
I think I think there are some safe havens out there. Things like Super Meat Boy, The Binding of Isaac. The indie game scene understands where, and Fez, these games understand where the difficultness comes from because they grew up like us, playing the difficult games like E.T. and Terminator 2 and back.
E.T. is not a difficult game. E.T. is a broken game that you can't win because it hates you and it secretly wants to kill you, but it's just a game. So,
It's just a game that wants to end you.
oh, and you know what? Let me say something to these guys in chat. I meant people with accents that sound like the stereotypical Southern accent. I don't actually just mean people from the South, wherever that is. I just mean people who sound like they're on Jerry Springer, who are 12 years old and hate gay people.
It's just like there's this. I don't know what it is. I think what's weird, working at Best Buy, I've met so many gamers that are like that, where it's just like they'll come in, they'll be like, "So, like, are there any new games out there that I want to play? Anything that's difficult and hard?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, pick up an Xbox Live card or PSN card and pick up games like, they're not necessarily hard, but they're fun, like Super Meat Boy and Castle Crashers and Fat
Limbo.
Princess and those kind of interesting games." And they're like, "Oh, I was thinking more of like the next Call of Duty," and I'm just like, those games aren't hard. They're not different. They're just the
It's
same.
just the same game.
Yeah.
And then what's crazy is that, games like Call of Duty get a bad rap from like the more intolerant gamer set, like the more specific hardcore gamer set. They get kind of shit talked for that a lot of the time. And then now this new trailer came out for Black Ops 2 where they like switched up the multiplayer a little bit.
Mhm.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And there's like a backlash. And it's like, what do you want, you people?
What do you want from me? I'm just making a game.
Am I going to buy Call of Duty Black Ops? Yes, but that doesn't matter.
The game. See what I'm fascinated. We're getting a little off track with this, but I'm fascinated is how like Call of Duty is able to, despite how easy it is or hard it is, if you want to pull your teeth either way, is how
Yeah.
like they progressively make their numbers bigger than the ones before.
Hmm.
Like for me, I'm like Modern Warfare. The first one was fantastic, and then
I love
I played World at War, which was kind of meh, but the zombie mode was fantastic. You know,
Great.
World at War, Modern Warfare 2, I just was like, all right, this is the same thing. And then Black Ops was okay. This is kind of the same thing. And then Modern Warfare 3, the same thing. Black Ops 2, the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting just how these companies still going, and the whole fact too that I think Activision is trying to sell. Nvidia's trying to get rid of Activision, and it's like, why would you? It's interesting how like this company is trying to get rid of themselves with
Yeah.
having the most successful video game franchise of all time under their belt.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's weird too because what somebody was just saying is in the chat like, are we? I didn't see who it was. The chat is going nuts.
it
But
goes fast.
somebody said that Call of Duty is competitively difficult, but I would say that that is just a game that is pretty well balanced and sometimes not even balanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That they're and I mean I remember when Modern Warfare 2 came out, there was a huge amount of just nutty tech issues with it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And like people were hacking it and stuff. But that's another thing. It's like that game isn't actually that deep of a game compared to I mean, considering that it comes out every year, where Capcom can come out with 3 fighting games in 5 years that are all totally different and totally deep, and I think that that's the example of a hard multiplayer game. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you this, because I know you're a big fighting guy, a big fighting game fan. The most experience I get with fighting games is probably like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Marvel vs.
Yeah.
Capcom 2 and 1. Basic Street Fighter I'm pretty good at. Street Fighter 4, the original. What do you think of these renditions of, they create Street Fighter 4, then Super Street Fighter 4, then Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition? Are these big changes improving the difficultness of what the game could be, or is it just a matter of we're adding more features, we're adding more characters, new levels?
I'd like to believe that Capcom is still in the business of making good quality fighting games most of the time,
Hmm.
just because of the people who I know work there or have worked there. Like Seth Killian is a big guy who really pours his heart and soul into making these fighting games like really something special.
Hmm.
And I feel like that person is in it because he loves it more than somebody over at Activision who is literally getting flack from not just like a lot of gamers who hate them for no reason or whatever, or for reasons, but the same reasons everybody hates them, but even people who are working for them. What was the name of the Infinity Ward, who made the first 2 Modern Warfares, like had like a scuffle with them.
Yeah.
And it just seems a lot more transparently like it's a money grab, to put out a Call of Duty every year by having 2 different houses make them.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we're getting a little off topic, but that's fantastic. I love that. Let's talk about difficult games. What, in your opinion, is a difficult game? Yes, I've been playing Dark Souls for a very long time. I'm nowhere near done completing it, but I'm working so hard to finish it in time for the end of this, not this month, but next month. What games to you really stand out as difficult? In fact, that's the question of the day for all of you guys. What games stand out for you that's difficult? Whether it's a new game or an old game, let us know. But what do you think, Alex? What is the hardest game, either old or new, that's still up there? That's like
The hardest game. I historically had a hard time when I was younger with Super Empire Strikes Back. As a game that I really had a hard time with, another really popular answer is Battletoads, which if you can beat World 3 of Battletoads, you're a better man than 10-year-old I was. And then I guess in a more modern day, I'd go with Demon Souls, Dark Souls, which are both just oppressively difficult. It's very satisfying when you succeed at them, but they are.
See,
Oh,
it's what's weird about Dark Souls than my experience that I've had playing the game is that I'm not finding a lot of reward in all the things I'm doing. Like I feel like I'm playing the game backwards because everyone is saying, "Oh, it just feels so rewarding how you get these levels and equipment and stuff." I just feel like I'm like after I'm done like beating a boss or fighting a dragon or something, I'm like I need to stop. It's like I don't feel like I've accomplished that much, and I feel like if I make one wrong move, everything I've accomplished is gone.
I was agreeing with you. I get that, but I mean, I feel like a lot of people probably play a lot less games than you do.
I guess that's true. Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, one game that was really difficult that I loved every minute of, except for my last playthrough,
Oh,
um, was Catherine.
oh, yeah.
Have you played Catherine?
I started it. I haven't finished it yet. I liked it though.
Catherine is a phenomenal game. Um,
Yeah.
I was intrigued from start to end. Both with the story and the gameplay mechanics and everything. But when you get to hard mode, the game is unforgiving, and you need to memorize. It's a game about memorizing everything and just getting all the patterns down and building out the blocks and everything, and then moving on to Babel, like another mode that's you cannot
Yes.
control or memorize anything. You have to just look at it and mathematically go, okay, great, I need to build this.
Yeah. Yeah. So nuts. So nuts.
Insane, insane. I'm pretty impressed though. I'm really glad that the game did come out. I thought there was a long time of a gap where they kept pushing it back or redoing things. Meat Boy wasn't that hard. There was a lot of hype to when I was reviewing Meat Boy. There's a lot of hype of me not being able to beat it in a couple of days, um, and I had so much fun playing it that I didn't like. I think I raged once or twice, and it was in the I want to be the guy levels.
Oh
Um,
yeah. God damn it.
Man, there's that one level with the spikes, the spike elevators, where you have to like come up and come down, and
Yeah.
then across, and then come up and come down. Like that was probably the most difficult level I had to deal with. That and maybe one or two of the Bandage Girl levels. But other than that, that game was a blast because it really made you feel as if it was your fault that you would get killed. Um,
So that's a good question too. So do you think that if a game is fun the whole time, that it still counts as like a hard game? Like, because obviously I'm sure you played it for fucking hours
yeah,
and died a million damn times.
18,000 something like that.
Yeah, but when I'm playing Meat Boy, I'm always having fun. Whereas when I'm playing Ninja Gaiden and I'm playing on that hard difficulty, and it takes me like a a day to beat the tank, and then two more come crashing through the wall, and I'm just like that's like not me like can't wait to do that again tomorrow, bros.
Sign me up, man! I'm ready for round two.
Can't wait to buy the sequel. Not that I didn't buy the sequel, but yeah.
Did you buy the sequel?
I did. Ninja Gaiden 2 is good. Ninja Gaiden 3 is not good.
I heard that about Ninja Gaiden 2 or Ninja Gaiden 3. I heard it was awful.
It's not awful. It's just like it doesn't feel like the other two, and it's like a bummer how much easier it is.
Yeah.
And like all the weapons are DLC.
Oh, that's weird. I'm trying to think of other games that are pretty. Now the Binding of Isaac is a tough game. Um,
It's tough.
Edmund McMillen knows how to bring the difficultness when it comes to games. That
That's
game,
still another game that's I had a great time the whole time.
Binding of Isaac.
Yeah.
You know, I've been wanting to review that game for so long, but there's so much content in it. There's so much more content in it, and it drives me nuts. Just because it's like you feel like you're gonna win this round. You're so close. You get to you get to the very end of Mom, and then it's like you're gone, and you're like, damn, I gotta start over.
What's a disappointing game? What's like a game that you were waiting for to come out and then you beat it in like 5 seconds?
Oh, because I thought it was going to be difficult, or provide a challenge to it.
Not that you thought it was going to be difficult, but just that you were like, I'm done. I beat the game.
That's it.
Yeah.
Let me look at my collection real quick. I really feel that was the way with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. It just kind of like ended. And the one thing I loved about Assassin's Creed prior to that is that they always had this big build up. They had this big glorious build up to all the big assassinations and moving forward and collecting flags and that kind of stuff. And you got to the end of Brotherhood and just was like, all right, the game's over. I guess I'll go back to calling more people around. And the ending was pretty awesome in terms of like how it ended, but the actual boss layout was just kind of like, it wasn't as epic as I wanted it to be.
Mhm. Yeah. I guess for me, my answer's got to be Portal 2.
Really?
Super short game. I mean, I don't think there's any like large amount of people who disagrees, right?
I think it's a little too short. I think you're right.
It's like literally like 6 or 7 hours.
Have you seen that video of iJustine trying to play Portal 2?
No.
It is the funniest 15 minutes I've ever spent watching a Let's Play. I don't watch Let's Plays. In fact, I'm starting a Let's Play channel really soon, but I'm really bad at them, so I'm trying to see how it works. But I saw someone, if you Google it, or if you YouTube it, there is someone who reviews her playthrough of Portal 2, and she gets stuck on the first puzzle for 12 minutes. And when she figures it out, it's the funniest moment ever. Like it's great. Forever Pandering, that's the one. Check out Forever Pandering's critiquing of iJustine's. It's phenomenal. It's hilarious. It's the best 15 minutes I've ever spent watching a Let's Play type video.
That's great. Do that immediately after this podcast.
You're just like, and he's British, so like, or he puts on a British accent if he's not British. And obviously, you're just like, you're listening to him and you're just like, oh, that's great, that's awesome. He's just like in there, saying it as it is, and it's such a good laugh. Yes, The Force Unleashed 2. Yes, that's a big one.
I just saw that. Yes, that is true.
Yes, I'm so disappointed. So disappointed with how short that game was. So weird. So weird.
Somebody's asking in the chat about sports games too, which we haven't even really touched on because I don't know about you, but I don't play them all that much.
I think he's talking about difficultness between the advancements of what these things are. Like FIFA's very popular. I think FIFA's the one franchise that I probably would play if I played it anything.
It's legitimately great, even on like the phone.
Oh yeah. I just find soccer to be more interesting of a sports game because you have such a big field and there's a lot more skill, in my opinion. Whereas the football games don't seem to really change too much. FIFA's huge, especially in Europe and in other countries outside of the U.S. FIFA is massive. All my cousins, whenever I go to Lebanon, are like, "Do you have FIFA? Bring FIFA with you."
Great.
But
Kinect Sports 3 is one of the most satisfyingly difficult games of all time.
it's so difficult. It's not even out.
There's no Kinect Sports 3.
There is no. That's right. No, I can actually introduce you guys to Alex officially through that. If you look, I ran into Alex at E3 in our E3 video, and he's the one guy that says there is no Kinect Sports 3. So now you're gonna go back and watch that video and have a freak out moment.
Oh, dude, he looks exactly the same.
It's the exact same guy. How did he do that?
I might even be wearing the same shirt.
Now I have to go rewatch that.
I don't think I am, but I might be.
Alex, thanks for doing this, man. This has been a blast. Been having a lot of fun.
Dude, I really wanted to do it last week, but I just couldn't make it.
No, it's okay. It was good that you didn't because I somehow decided to be like, oh yeah, let me play Mario 1-1 blindfolded, and that video went viral in 2 days.
Oh, that was great.
I have no idea. The funny thing is that people don't realize I did it for those who were watching. Like I didn't mean to do it for all these people. I did for anyone else out there. I did it just for the audience that came to watch DLC, and we canceled it. So I was like, I'll do something fun for them, and that's kind of what happened. And then next thing you know, it's on Kotaku
That was great.
and Dorkly, which is really rad.
Of course, it's like all trolls and comments like, "Oh, you can do that. Like, you should be able to."
Yeah,
do that.
it's like, oh, I'm not good as this guy. Well, the thing that pisses me off about the video is that people don't really realize
Yeah.
is that when I didn't get to practice, I didn't get to practice at all. It was my third time, my third chance that I did it, and I have insane momentum. Like, if you look at the video, there's a moment where it's just like,
Yeah,
I
you're
get
like "Doo, doo, doo, doo."
exactly, and I keep going. I don't stop, and it's like. That's why it was impressive. It wasn't like I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm the best guy ever." It wasn't like that at all. It just was like, I'm doing it for my fans. They asked me to do it. It was a great video, and yeah, of course, everyone's a critic in this town.
Ugh.
All
Welcome
right.
to Los Angeles.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
That's my southern accent for you trolls.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for that. For our break. During our commercial break, before our commercial break, we were talking about the hardest games we thought dealing with the evolution of the gaming industry, whether or not games are getting more difficult or if they're getting easier over time. So, before we start our show, as always on DLC, we go ahead and we ask our chat moderator, Foxhound, ask some questions, and we get kind of a conglomeration of the fan responses, and then we invite them onto the show. So right now we're going to go ahead and talk to them. So first up in our list of people is Ocarina Man. Ocarina Man, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Beardman.
Yeah, man, thanks for being here. So give us your 2 cents on what you think about difficult games.
Well, I'm part of like the younger generation of gaming, so like the newer kind. So a lot of like people that I grew up in school with are like Call of Duty, that's awesome. I was never really into those. Like I just think that it kind of ruins gaming because it's all 12-year-olds screaming at each other. It's just kind of annoying. As you can see from my name, I'm a Zelda fanatic. I always think Zelda games impose a good challenge, beaten Twilight Princess 15 times, but that's beside the point. As you said in like sports games, how it's like for immersion, kind of, how they're trying to give you like the feel now. It does go away from like hardness of the game, but they still are fun to play, which I think it makes people still buy them. Like you said, FIFA is very popular in other countries. In the U.S., we kind of have like games that are like harder and stuff, so we don't usually go towards those games. Personally, I think they've gotten a lot worse in years past. Like Madden has kind of taken a downfall.
Oh,
Or
sports.
I think that with Zelda especially, I feel that's my big problem with Zelda games when they get better with graphical involvement. There's usually like the Master Quest, or with Skyward Sword they had like the hard mode or legendary heroic mode, I think it was.
Yeah.
And there's not really much changes except for location of items and maybe some, you're more susceptible to damage, hearts don't respawn. So that kind of bump, I love Zelda, but they kind of take the easy way out in my opinion. Anyways,
That's-
continue.
That's a fantastic point too. What was that friend of yours who wrote that Zelda article?
My friend?
Wasn't it your friend on Kotaku?
Was it my friend?
Anyway, he says he basically puts forward a point that he thinks that that Zelda as a franchise is broken, and that he wants it to be more like Demon Souls. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's an interesting point considering what you're saying.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, wouldn't that be interesting though? Now that you got me on it, I want to see a Demon Souls like Zelda game.
If the next Demon Souls, if the next Zelda came out and it was like Zelda meets Demon Souls, where that room in the middle is like Hyrule, then we got a game going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not as pissed off as that guy who wrote that article was, but he's saying that if you made it more like Demon Souls, where it doesn't tell you how to do anything, and it basically just gives you like a quick like, you have to kill the guys who are the bad guys, and then like sets you off on a journey. That's how Zelda 1 is.
Yeah.
You know? Like you bomb the walls. I mean, I'm sure you've done it, Ocarina Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too, is that back in the day we had the Rumble Pack, which told us what to do. That was like a good way of it being nice, of saying, hey, there is a circular hole or secret to bomb here, versus what they do in the other game, where they just kind of hold your hand through without even really trying. I beat Skyward Sword in about 20 hours. And no guide, nothing. I almost got all the heart pieces, and it was very easy to find the heart pieces too. In fact, you can get a heart piece dowsing, which was like shows you the way, which is like that's not what Zelda was about to me. It was about not telling you where the heart pieces were, so you had to go and try and find it all.
Yeah, and then you got like that. You were really elated when you finally found something. It was like, oh my god, yes!
Or like, oh, I want to get up in that certain hole, but how do I get there? And you finally find out, and you're like, oh my god, after all this time.
I am a god.
And you know what? Why don't you were talking about putting a link in the show notes earlier. Why don't we put a link to that Zelda article in the show notes? I will find that, and I will give that to you guys.
Yes, I'd love to. We'll make sure that everyone can read that. The next person on our call list, you know what? He's a long-time viewer. His username is so messed up that I've dubbed him codename Kyle. So, Kyle, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gerard. Thanks for having me on here.
Kyle, go ahead and read your username out there for everyone else to that's watching right now.
The way you pronounce my username is KJDFSKJASJK.
There you go. AKA Kyle. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So
I like that the last two letters are JK, like you're just kidding at the end.
like you didn't mean to. It just was like, oh, JK.
Yeah, when you say it out loud, it makes it funny.
All right, man. So give us your
Kyle XY from now on.
Kyle XY.
JK.
JK.
I'm sorry. Okay, Kyle.
Give us the lowdown, Kyle. What's going on with you? What do you think about difficult games?
From what I've seen lately with all the new games, is they're not necessarily harder or easier, but they found new ways of being harder. Like what I've noticed is harder difficulties on games having more enemies that get you in like chokeholds that you start freaking out and you will die easily. And the harder difficulties also having damage modifiers where they hit you harder. But like old games, they had simple controls and they didn't have any tutorials on what you have to do, and you had limited lives and continues. While the new games, you can constantly keep going at the game until you get past it.
That's another thing. You brought up a good point about how
That's a scientific approach.
Yeah, I mean the fact that you can just like restart a game from dying. Dying is no longer a penalty.
Almost never, yeah.
Almost never. If you die, it's like you press start and you reload the game. I mean, dying from save points I get, but even now in Gears of War and those kinds of games, you just respawn at the nearest checkpoint, not even at the last time you save the game.
Or like Halo, it's like, yeah, like when you're playing on Legendary, there's like almost no risk.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
just like a process of elimination of how to win.
See, that's why. But see, not Dark Souls, Demon Souls 2 or Demon Souls, Dead Space 2.
Yes.
Like that hardcore mode of only 3 saves. Like that is boss right there. That right there is fantastic because then it's like, great. Now I have to plan out exactly where I'm going to save the game, and if I die, I only get to go back to that save point. There's no like, oh, there was a cutscene, so I'm okay, or oh, it's like no, you go back from where you saved it, and that's where it should be. Um, that's why I don't mind dying in those games because it's it is what it is. Anything else you want to add? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's all right. Another thing I noticed was, like, in Resident Evil 4, when you went through and beat it on professional mode, they gave you an item called the PRL-412, which is this gun that instantly killed any enemy or boss in the game, and it completely broke it. I mean, the difficulty of actually getting the gun was hard enough, but the fact that they give you an item like that, which breaks the game, it also shows how games have become easier.
Well, I mean, I admit when I beat Resident Evil under 3 hours and I've got the rocket launcher, there's nothing more satisfying than one hit killing everything that stands in your way.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you've already put in the work.
Exactly.
In that case, you've already done the hard shit.
Right. Which I think that's how games should treat. They should kind of provide
Little extra playthroughs.
Yeah, it's an incentive to go back and experience those games again.
Right.
So yeah, I really wish that they got it together with those kind of games. Like we were saying earlier about Halo, it's just like, oh, legendary mode's really not that legendary.
Yeah, if you couldn't die, if you have like 9 deaths or 10 deaths or whatever, 9 or 10, it would be a totally different story.
Yeah, people would not take that many risks. There was one game on the PS1 I used to play a lot. I think it was called The Heart of Darkness.
Oh my god, yeah.
It was the most twisted game I've ever played as a kid. Like,
let's play that. Let's do that.
oh, dude, we should do that. That's going to be my Let's Play. I'm going to get Alex. We're going to come over and we're gonna play that. That's awesome. 'Cause I need to find that game. I need to get that game again.
That would be
Dude, come over right
awesome.
now. Go, go,
Yeah,
go.
seriously, dude, we got to do that. Oh, that game. It was so creepy for a kid's game. It was
Yeah.
so uncomfortable.
And it was really like, what is happening? Like,
Yeah, you just don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Oh damn.
Oh man, now I'm thinking about that. Anyway, so
Anyway.
our last caller for the evening, our last caller for the evening, guys, is Soviet_Missile. Soviet Missile, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Great, dude.
Doing great. Thanks for coming in on the show.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, so tell us, what is your 2 cents on difficult games in the current market of gaming?
I think gaming back then was more difficult than gaming is today, with the exception of games that are built around presenting a challenge to the player. And the majority of why that is, to me, is the fact that media today is a very instant gratification kind of thing, where you want to experience something, you want to be entertained the whole time, you don't necessarily want to be stressed out by something. And there's this whole mentality, and we have it in our schools and society at large right now, where everyone's a winner. Everyone should be able to complete this product, this game, and it's a selling point.
I never thought of it that way. That's an interesting point.
It's a little pessimistic, but I see what you're saying.
Well, it's a business, and people want to sell their product, with the exception of course, those games that are built for a niche market. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, a lot of those games do also present very artificially difficult modes, like was mentioned before, enemies that have more health, more enemies, more damage, what have you. It's not necessarily a good solution, but it is a solution for people who enjoy the game and want to experience it again. I think games back in the day, due to their limitations, they were more difficult. They weren't necessarily manufactured to be as difficult as they were. Going back to what I said earlier, graphical issues, limiting controls with, not having as many buttons, not having as many moves, data that's on the cartridge or the disc, if we're going into that era.
Right.
It was far less, and to get around that, creators had to be a bit more creative, and that's what made a lot of the experiences that we remember not necessarily being shoved towards an objective with lots of exposition in cutscenes, or having a lot of visual cues that are in games these days, like a light at the end of the hall telling us to go here instead of the dark place that will get us killed. You just had a point A to point B in most games back then, with the exception of games that were built for exploration.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Good point.
I think it's kind of sad how games are a little too linear. But I think I tip my I have to say this. I know everyone hates on Final Fantasy 13. Everyone hated that game.
I don't. I think it's fantastic.
I thought it was fantastic too. I thought it was a great time, and I think that a lot of people don't give it enough credit. They're upset because it's not like old Final Fantasy. It's different. It sucks or whatever it is. The thing is, you have to realize that the gaming industry has changed dramatically since 12 and 13.
I mean, it's such a moneymaker compared to how it's been.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not as bad as I admit the story is a little iffy, but the gameplay is what sold me, and that's kind of what 13 was about to me. The gameplay.
Yeah, that was like the whole point of it, really.
Yeah, and just the shifts, the paradigm shifts were such a cool concept. But that's an example of a gaming company that's changing with the industry and going back to being very linear, because 13 was incredibly linear in comparison to past Final Fantasies and
13 too.
What's that?
And 13 too.
And 13 too, definitely. Which I have 13 too in my collection, but I haven't really experienced it 100% yet. I'm still trying to recover from, because I did 100% complete Final Fantasy 13, 182 hours on one game save. Because that was years before I even started the show too. So it just was like when I got Final Fantasy 13, I turned to my girlfriend at the time and I said, "You need to leave me for a month." I was like, "You cannot get mad at me for playing this game. Let me have this month."
It's like Racer. Destiny was to race. Destiny was to fully complete games.
There are some moments I get with certain games, and I'm just like, do not leave me alone. I need to do this.
Yeah. I think that what I've kind of got from this discussion is that rather than games becoming more easy or more hard, I feel like the perception of what a game should be has changed so drastically from the 80s to now that we're maybe perceiving older games as harder because they don't really fit the modern criteria for games as much. And so now when a game comes out that is just challenging, it's insane that it's like noted. Like it's crazy that the exceptions are the indicators that most games are easy, since when a hard game comes out, we're all like,
right,
that's a hard game. When before it was like every game was just like, who knows if you're going to beat it or not, just buy that shit.
Yeah. Just buy it. What are you waiting for? Well, I think that's our cast for today, guys. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. We haven't decided what game yet we wanted to play for a MMO. I know that a couple weeks ago in the last cast we had, episode 5, we talked about how we wanted to get like the Beardman community together to do a really cool online MMO that's free. And I think
my vote's for DCU Online.
I was about to say I think if I had to pick 3, I would say DCU Online. Maybe another one we got was what is it called? Guild Wars 2 when that comes out. That one's going to be pretty good from what I understand. And then also we got a couple for Minecraft. It's not really MMO based. And a couple more. So I'll make a poll on Facebook for you guys out there who follow us on Facebook and Twitter. and that kind of stuff, so we can kind of see what's going on. And yeah, guys, let's give it a round of applause for Alex for showing up.
Thanks for all the love in the chat, guys. It's freaking nuts.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, Alex, I knew you were gonna work. That's the best part, is I knew that Alex was gonna be a perfect addition to the podcast. And next week we'll be back with Greg, myself, and Alex, rocking a new topic. Yeah, that's Alex. Thanks again, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Thanks.
Now, Alex, do you have a Twitter or Facebook or anything like that you want people to go ahead and follow you on?
Oh, yeah, you know what? You can find me on Facebook. I'm going to type them in the chat right now. Here's my name on Facebook right there, and here's my Twitter.
And for the video's sake, guys, you'll see annotations appear with it as well, so you can go ahead and follow him on Twitter. As always, you can follow us at the show on Facebook, facebook.com/TheCompletionist. You can follow me on Twitter, at JKCompletesIt. You can follow me on Tumblr, which is that one, videogerard.tumblr.com. And that's basically all we got for today, guys. And now it's time for something totally different.